He's the best quarterback available right now that you're looking at. And I am a Kirk Cousins believer. I'm a fan of his. I think he's going to bring your team to the next level. But I think he has a really interesting decision to make because he's going to have potential suitors. He's going to have several of them. And if you ask of the teams we're looking at, Jets, Broncos, Vikings, Browns, Cardinals, I think it's easy. I think you look at Denver. And I think you go, hey, it's ready-made. They have the defense already in place. You've got John Elway. You have a firm philosophy as an organization that's have a proven track record of winning over time. But here's the thing. John Elway has been pretty smart with his paydays. He's not going to just back up the truck, which some other teams will. And I think the Jets clearly backing off a little bit are like, hey, we have zero leverage if we're saying if we're going to say we're going all in. But I think it's clear they need a franchise quarterback. And I think it's just going to be one of these really tough decisions for Kirk Cousins to make. But I think it should be a no-brainer. I would play for less in Denver to get in a better situation, to play in a better division where you've got the Chiefs going with Patrick Mahomes. Who knows how that's going to work? You've got the Raiders with a new coach and John Gruden. You got the Chargers. Who knows what's happening out there? Like, you should be the favorites to win your division. It's just, for me, I think it's a no-brainer for Kirk Cousins.
Well, let me say this. And look, I'm from Cleveland. I like Joe Thomas, but unless nobody else is offering anything comparable, I'm sorry.
Right.
Don't go to Cleveland. I'm sorry. And I know people talk about they do have some talent. They obviously have a lot of draft picks that they've taken over the last few years. Do not go to Cleveland. He has been in a situation his whole career where there's shaky ownership. Mm-hmm. You know, he hasn't been treated right. Why would you put yourself in that position again in Cleveland where that could be the case? And you said take a team to the next level. What is that for Cleveland? 5 wins, 6 wins, you know, even if he could get that team to the playoffs, because I've heard some say, you get Cleveland to the playoffs, I mean, they're going to build a statue for you.
You're a hero.
But if you go to Denver, as you said, you could win a Super Bowl and Super Bowls. So I'm with you. I think if the money is comparable, I would take less to play in Denver, certainly over Cleveland. But if the money's comparable, I think the place is Denver. But I'll say this about the Jets. And, you know, like you said, they kind of dialed it back. But the money that is being thrown out there as far as what they may offer, I mean, let's talk about a fully guaranteed contract or even 90% guaranteed, whatever it may be. If they really blow you away, I think it'll be hard to walk away from that. I think Todd Bowles is a pretty good coach. I thought this year when everybody thought they were going to be in the running for the #1 pick, they actually looked pretty good at times. Obviously won some games people didn't think they would and played tough in other games. They have the cap space this summer, even if they back up the Brinks truck for him. And then next summer to add more pieces. So if he doesn't mind putting up with the tabloids and all the criticism, if you lose, then I don't think the Jets is a bad option if they really blow everybody away financially.
He's already been criticized as much as you can be in Washington, and not only by the media, but by his own team, who basically backed over the truck, ran over back and forth several times. When Jay Gruden's comments after the season was over saying a good quarterback doesn't go 7-9. Here's the crazy thing about Kirk Cousins. If he was selected at the spot RG3 was, because he was drafted later, fourth round, even the same draft. If he was drafted in first round, he would still be with Washington. He would have been extended years ago, like a couple years ago after the 2015 season. He would have gotten a nice big contract, but it's the perception of him, and it drives me crazy because he has proven over 3 years. This isn't a 7-game body work like we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not a small, Nick Foles one season that he had back in 2013. This is 3 years he's been in top 10 in almost every meaningful category as far as passing stats. So he has proven it. Now he's going to get the opportunity for a team to believe in him. Kirk Cousins can be the next Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees, the perception around Drew Brees was similar when he was with the Chargers at San Diego, coming off the shoulder surgery. There were only 2 teams that were even considering looking at Brees. It was the Dolphins and the Saints. Didn't go to Dolphins, didn't work out, medical concerns. Sean Payton said, hey, we believe in you. I think a team that says to Kirk Cousins, we believe in you, I think you can get that caliber of quarterback where he could take your franchise to the next level, not for this season, but for the next 6, 7, 8 years, much like Drew Brees elevated the Saints.
See, I like Cousins a lot. I don't see Drew Brees. I don't see him being a guy that can just carry, put you on his back and carry you. I think he needs other pieces. I don't see him throwing for well over, over 5,000 yards consistently. I mean, maybe he's been close over 4. But what is it then that Washington, I mean, you brought up the draft spot, but it has to be more than that. I mean, I think they've mismanaged it. I like him, like I said, like you. But they must see something or a lack of something because they know him better than anybody. So what do you think it is that they just refuse to believe in him?
I don't think they're blown away by the top-tier arm strength. And I do think there is some ego involved here with Daniel Snyder because it was very clear that Daniel Snyder made the trade for RG3. That was the quarterback that the owner wanted in there. And Mike Shanahan, who is long gone, was the guy who said, you know what? I like this guy Cousins from Michigan State. Let's bring him in here. And I think there is some ego in play where there were some, and I think that was a very divided front office coaching staff that was like, hey, where do we stand with Kirk Cousins? And I think they got too caught up in some of the political aspects just of, hey, who's in, who's out, instead of going and looking at the product in the field. Look, they shipped off Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon. They were like, we're not going to re-sign him. And I almost felt like it was, hey, let's see how he does without him. And he put up the same numbers. He was still just as good as he was before. There's a team out there that has kind of been written off in the conversation, and I think too soon, which I think would be really interesting, and that's Jacksonville. And it was because of the Blake Bortles surgery that he's had on his hand. Where does he stand? There's an $18 million, injury guarantee if he's not healthy enough. But if Jacksonville can figure a way out, like if Bortles is healthy enough to pass his physical and they can cut him later, I think Jacksonville is a really intriguing spot for Kirk Cousins. You put him in that system, in that franchise, with that young defense and young talent, they're all of a sudden, they might be the favorites in the AFC over the Patriots if they were able to swing Kirk Cousins.
I'm with you there. As much as I like him in Denver, I think Jacksonville would be a tremendous fit. I think with Tom Coughlin, it'd be a great fit with those two. Obviously, you have the running game that I think is going to get better. Like, this year, defenses crowded the box to stop the running game because they weren't worried about Bortles. Now, if you have Cousins, they're not going to be able to do that, and I think the running game will improve, and that'll end up helping Cousins. So, obviously, defensively, they're strong. I do like him there as well. We'll see how it works out with Bortles as far as the money and the health.
So, I got a quick story for you. I was at the Super Bowl, and I was doing media, the radio row, sitting there, and I saw Kirk Cousins, said hello to him, and he was doing some interviews, and he walked off to do an interview. And this is one of the things I love about him. He had brought like 4 or 5 of his high school buddies with him. And they came up and they were talking to me, and I'm like, hey, this is really cool. You guys are here. And they were just in heaven, sitting there hanging out with their high school buddy, right? And I'm like, Kirk's in a great spot. I was like, he's going to be able to pick and go to a winning team. And I said, he's going to do fantastic. I said, unless he goes to Cleveland. And they all it was like crickets, though. Like, and I was like, man, maybe they know something I don't. But here's the thing with Cleveland, and I don't know where Kirk Cousins is mentally. Is he that type of player that looks at Cleveland and says, you know what? I can be the guy that can turn it around. And kind of prove all your naysayers wrong. I'm going to be the guy after the list of 27 whatever it is, the quarterbacks who have gone to die and their careers have died in Cleveland. Maybe he has that type of just swagger, moxie, whatever you call it, and he's going to have a huge payday to say, I'm going to turn it around. I don't know if he's got that in him. I wouldn't want to be that guy. No. But I don't know if he's got it.
You can prove people wrong in Denver. Leading somebody to a Super Bowl would prove people wrong about him. So, no, I'm sorry. Don't go there.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.